My hands were steady when I signed the divorce papers. That's what bothered Marcus the most. Not the silence, not the courtroom, not the fact that his own mother couldn't even look me in the eye. It was my calm. "You really think you're walking away with nothing?" He asked me across the dining table 3 weeks earlier. I remember folding my napkin slow, real slow. "I know I am." Marcus leaned back in his chair and laughed like he'd already won. That deep, arrogant laugh rich men practice after they start believing nobody can touch them. The same laugh he used when he fired people. The same laugh he used when waiters messed up our order. The same laugh he used the night he told me I should be grateful he picked me. That one almost broke me. Almost. Before I tell you what happened in that courtroom, I need y'all to do something for me. I love seeing where everybody's watching from. So, drop your city down in the comments. And after hearing what Marcus did to me, tell me honestly, what would you have done in my position? Would you have fought dirty? Would you have exposed him? Or would you have done exactly what I did? And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel because stories like this, they get real. Now, let me tell you how a man who thought he owned me ended up staring at me from the courthouse steps while I drove away in a billionaire's Lamborghini. My name is Naomi Brooks. I was 37 years old when my marriage ended. No kids, no joint custody battle, no dramatic screaming in public, just paperwork, cold signatures, and betrayal sitting quietly in expensive suits. Marcus and I met 12 years earlier at a downtown Atlanta charity event. He wasn't old money. He wanted everybody to think he was. But Marcus came from the same kind of neighborhood I did. Cracked sidewalks, overworked mothers, men sitting outside liquor stores pretending life didn't scare them. The difference was Marcus hated where he came from. I didn't. He built a private equity company that started making serious money around our 4th year together. Corporate acquisitions, commercial real estate, investment portfolios, luxury development contracts, all the kind of high-income business words rich people throw around to make greed sound professional. I helped him build that company. That part matters. Because Marcus loved rewriting history. He loved acting like he became successful alone. But I was there when his office had folding chairs. I was there when creditors called his phone non-stop. I was there when he cried in the bathroom because payroll bounced. I was the one doing bookkeeping after midnight. I handled client scheduling. I cleaned up his presentations. I talked him out of panic attacks. I even sold my grandmother's house inheritance so he could secure his first commercial property deal. Marcus never mentioned that part later. Men like him rarely do. Success changed him slow. That's the dangerous kind, not overnight, piece by piece. First it was little comments. "You should dress more polished around investors." Then it became criticism. "You embarrass me when you talk too casually." Then came the disrespect. "You don't understand business at my level." I stayed quiet longer than I should have. Not because I was weak. Because I remembered the man before the money. The Marcus who used to rub my feet after double shifts. The Marcus who cried when his father died. The Marcus who promised me we'd always be equals. But money doesn't just expose character. Sometimes it feeds the ugliest parts of it. Around year 10, Marcus started traveling more. Miami, Dubai, Los Angeles, private meetings, luxury networking events, investor retreats. Every excuse sounded polished. But his energy changed. His phone stayed face down. He started locking doors during calls. His assistant suddenly hated me. Women know. We always know. The confirmation came on a Thursday night. I wasn't snooping, that's the funny thing. I was looking for our insurance documents in his office when his tablet lit up. One message. That was all it took. "Can't wait to spend the weekend in Napa again. Last time was unforgettable." Heart emoji. Her name was Kiara, 28, corporate branding consultant. Perfect teeth, perfect body, perfect Instagram life. I stared at the screen for maybe 30 seconds. No tears, no shaking, just stillness. The kind that comes right before something inside you changes forever. Marcus came home around midnight. He loosened his tie while walking through the kitchen. "Why are you awake?" I slid the tablet across the counter, asked Kiara. His face dropped, then hardened. That told me everything. No guilt, no shame, just annoyance at getting caught. "You went through my things?" I actually laughed. "You're cheating on me and that's your first sentence?" Marcus rubbed his jaw. "It's not serious. Then why hide it? It just happened." People don't accidentally fly women to Napa Valley. That irritated him. He hated when I sounded smarter than he expected. Marcus grabbed a bottle from the cabinet and poured himself bourbon. "You want to know the truth?" he asked. "Yes, you stopped growing." That sentence sat between us like poison. I looked at him carefully. This man shared my bed for over a decade and somehow I suddenly didn't know him. "You think cheating makes you evolved?" "I think success changes expectations." There it was, the real Marcus, not the husband, not the partner. The businessman who started treating relationships like investments. If you're unhappy, I said calmly, then leave. I already spoke to an attorney. That part hit harder than the cheating, because it meant planning, preparation, timing. Marcus had already decided my future before telling me. I'm offering you the condo and monthly support for 18 months. I blinked slowly. Offering? That's considering the prenup. The prenup. I should explain that. Marcus pushed that agreement right before our wedding. He said investors recommended it. He said it protected both of us. I was stupid enough to trust love over paperwork. The agreement heavily favored him. At the time, Marcus barely had anything. Neither of us imagined he'd later build an empire worth hundreds of millions, but technically, the document protected most of it. I remember staring at my husband while he discussed my life like a quarterly earnings report. No apology? I asked. For what? I almost smiled. That answer freed me, not emotionally, legally, mentally, spiritually. Because the second somebody stops pretending to care about your pain, you stop owing them softness. I moved into the condo 2 weeks later. Marcus wasted no time making his new relationship public. That part was intentional. Men like Marcus don't just leave. They perform victory. Instagram photos, luxury resorts, designer shopping trips. Kiara wearing jewelry I helped him afford years ago. People started calling me. You okay? Did you know? I heard Marcus moved on fast. I stopped answering. Not because I was embarrassed, because I was thinking, studying, remembering. See, Marcus forgot something important. I built that company beside him. I knew where skeletons lived, not criminal skeletons, financial ones. Backdoor agreements, questionable asset transfers, hidden partnerships. Nothing illegal enough for prison, but enough to embarrass wealthy investors. Enough to complicate public divorce proceedings, enough to make headlines. Still, I didn't want revenge, not yet. I wanted peace. Then I met Denise. Denise was my attorney, black woman, sharp as broken glass, Harvard-educated, never smiled unless she meant it. She reviewed my prenup in complete silence, then she looked up. Your husband thinks you're stupid. That obvious. He got comfortable. Denise tapped one section. There's language here protecting marital business contributions. What does that mean? It means if we prove you materially contributed to the growth of his company after marriage, we may have leverage. Even with the prenup? Especially because of the prenup. Hope is dangerous after heartbreak. It wakes dead parts of you. I leaned forward. You really think I have a case? Denise folded her hands. I think wealthy men often underestimate the women standing beside them. That was the first time I smiled in weeks. The legal process came ugly fast. Marcus hired expensive attorneys, the kind who wear cufflinks that cost more than rent. Every negotiation felt disrespectful. They questioned my role in the business, minimized my contributions, suggested I was emotionally unstable. One attorney actually asked me, Mrs. Brooks, would you say your primary role was domestic support? I stared directly at him. My primary role was helping your client become rich enough to hire you. Denise nearly laughed. Marcus avoided speaking to me directly during mediation. Kiara attended one meeting. That told me everything about her. Confident women don't accompany married men to divorce proceedings. Insecure women do. She sat beside Marcus in cream-colored designer clothes, looking proud of herself. At one point, she whispered something that made him smirk. I ignored both of them. That irritated Marcus more than anger would have. After mediation, he cornered me near the elevator. You're dragging this out for money. No, I replied calmly. I'm dragging this out because you lied. You signed the agreement. You signed vows. His jaw tightened. Be careful, Naomi. That sentence, that tone, I knew it well. Marcus used intimidation when he felt control slipping. I stepped closer. Or what? For a second, neither of us spoke. Then the elevator doors opened. Marcus walked away first. That mattered to me. The next few months exposed who truly loved me. A lot of people disappeared. That's another thing nobody tells you about wealthy marriages. Most friendships are tied to access. People loved Marcus's private events, his luxury suites, his celebrity connections. Once the marriage collapsed, invitations stopped. Women who called me sister suddenly went quiet. I didn't chase anybody. Silence reveals loyalty faster than arguments. Then came the humiliation campaign. Marcus started leaking stories, that I was difficult, that I was bitter, that I couldn't handle his success. One blog even implied I struggled with mental health. I sat in my condo reading lies about myself while Marcus vacationed in Monaco. That night I almost broke. Almost, I called Denise. I'm tired. Good, she replied. I frowned. What? Tired people stop pretending. That's when strategy becomes clear. What are you saying? I'm saying your husband thinks this is emotional for you. And make it expensive instead. That sentence changed everything. Over the next several weeks, Denise and her forensic accounting team started uncovering things. Large transfers, unreported property holdings, offshore partnership interests. Nothing fully hidden, just buried. Marcus assumed I'd sign quietly and disappear. Instead, his legal team started panicking. Settlement calls increased. Their tone changed. Suddenly, they wanted cooperation, compromise, efficiency. I knew why. Discovery. Rich men hate discovery because money leaves fingerprints. One evening, Marcus called me directly. First time in months. You're embarrassing yourself. No, I answered. I'm embarrassing you. You think you can damage me? I think you damage yourself. You're being manipulated by greedy attorneys. I laughed softly. That's funny coming from a man billing me for breathing. His voice lowered. What do you want? There it was, the fear. Tiny but real. I want fairness. You're not getting half my company. I already got the truth. The rest is paperwork. He hung up on me. 3 days later, Marcus proposed a settlement conference before trial. Denise told me that meant weakness. I told her Marcus never accepted weakness, which meant he was scared. The conference happened at a luxury law office downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive art, cold air conditioning, everything designed to make wealthy people feel important. Marcus arrived wearing a charcoal suit worth more than most mortgages. Kiara wasn't there. Interesting. His lead attorney smiled professionally. We'd like to resolve this discreetly. Denise folded her arms. Then your client should behave discreetly. The negotiations lasted 6 hours. Marcus kept insisting I overestimated my importance to the company. Denise kept producing evidence, emails, financial records, operational documents with my edits, internal communications. My fingerprints were everywhere. By hour 5, Marcus looked exhausted, not sad, not guilty. Exposed, that's different. Then his attorney made the mistake. We can offer enhanced spousal support and property retention. I looked at Marcus. You still think this is about survival? What else would it be about? He snapped. Respect. Marcus scoffed. You want respect now? No, I want accountability. The room went silent. Then Denise slid one folder across the table. Marcus opened it. His face changed instantly. Not anger, fear, real fear. Because inside that folder was documentation connected to one of his undisclosed investment entities. A hidden acquisition deal. One investors wouldn't appreciate learning about publicly. Marcus looked at me slowly. You did this? No, I answered. You did. For the first time since our divorce started, Marcus looked small. And I finally realized something. I wasn't fighting for money anymore. I was fighting to remind myself I mattered before he became rich. The offer Marcus after that settlement meeting was $40 million. I almost laughed when Denise told me. Not because $40 million wasn't life-changing. Because 2 months earlier, Marcus acted like I deserved a condo and temporary support. Now suddenly I was worth 8 figures. Funny how respect appears once rich men get nervous. Denise sat across from me in her office sipping black coffee. You shouldn't celebrate yet. I'm not. Yes, you are. I smiled slightly, maybe a little. She leaned back. This is where women mess up. What do you mean? They start thinking emotional victory means the war is over. I understood immediately. Marcus wasn't surrendering. He was recalculating. That's what businessmen do. Everything becomes strategy, even marriage, especially divorce. I rejected the offer, not emotionally, strategically. And when Marcus heard that, he lost his mind. He showed up at my condo unannounced around 9 at night, still in his work clothes, still carrying that expensive cologne I used to buy him for anniversaries. I opened the door halfway. You shouldn't be here. We need to talk. We have attorneys for that. This isn't business. I looked him dead in the eye. That's exactly what it is. He pushed past me anyway. Same old Marcus. Always assuming boundaries were optional. He paced around my living room like he still owned the place. You rejected $40 million. You rejected 12 years? That's not the same thing, you're right. Mine cost more. His knuckles flared. Marcus hated when I stayed calm. Back when we were married, he'd purposely provoke arguments until I cried. Not because he enjoyed my pain, because emotional people are easier to control, but I wasn't crying anymore. That terrified him. You're listening to Denise too much. No. I spent too many years listening to you. Marcus pointed toward me. You think you can survive at my level? That sentence told me everything about how he viewed marriage, not partnership, dependency. You still don't get it, I said quietly. Get what? You needed me long before I ever needed you. He laughed hard, cruel, sharp. You were bookkeeping and scheduling appointments. I nodded slowly. And somehow your empire exploded after I organized your chaos. His face tightened because deep down Marcus knew the truth. He was brilliant with vision, terrible with structure. I built systems, I stabilized disasters. I cleaned up messes before investors noticed. I was the reason his genius looked polished. But men like Marcus only value labor when another man performs it. You're getting greedy, he muttered. No, I'm getting honest. That conversation ended badly. Marcus slammed my door so hard a picture frame fell. I stared at the broken glass for a long time afterward. Not because I missed him, because I finally accepted something painful. The man I loved probably existed, but success buried him alive. The next morning, the smear campaign got worse. Entertainment blogs started publishing anonymous sources claiming I was trying to extort Marcus, that I threatened his business, that I was unstable. One article called me a vengeful ex-wife targeting a self-made millionaire. I sat at my kitchen counter to read during strangers debate my character. That part hurts more than people realize. Not the lies, the helplessness. Knowing somebody with enough money can reshape public perception. My phone buzzed. It was my younger cousin Renee. "You okay?" "I'm breathing." That man got bloggers acting like he invented oxygen. I laughed for the first time all day. Renee always knew how to cut tension. "You want to know what really makes him mad?" she asked. "What?" "You still classy." I went quiet because she was right. Marcus expected me to explode publicly, expose him online, create chaos. Instead, I stayed composed, and that robbed him of control. A week later, Denise called with news. "We found another property." "What kind?" "Malibu beachfront." I blinked. "Marcus owns property in California?" "Technically, a holding company does." I leaned back slowly. The hidden assets kept growing. Luxury real estate, private investments, silent partnerships. Marcus wasn't just protecting wealth. He was hiding identity. That distinction mattered. Denise eventually explained why. "Your husband built his image around transparency to investors. And in wealthy people fear embarrassment almost more than financial loss." I thought about that all night because it was true. Marcus cared deeply about appearance, power, status, the illusion of perfection. That's why he upgraded women publicly after leaving me. That's why Kiara suddenly appeared at gallows wearing diamonds. She wasn't just a girlfriend. She was branding. Proof Marcus had evolved beyond me, at least in his mind. Then something unexpected happened. Kiara contacted me directly. I almost ignored the message, but curiosity won. We met at a private restaurant in Buckhead. She arrived 15 minutes late. Designer bag, perfect makeup, expensive perfume, the whole performance. I stayed polite. "You wanted to talk?" Kiara crossed her legs carefully. "I think this divorce is getting ugly unnecessarily." I stared at her. "You flew here to tell me that?" "Marcus is under pressure." I almost smiled. "Good." She lowered her voice. "He says you're trying to destroy him." "No, throat," I answered calmly. "I'm forcing him to stop lying." Kiara studied she carefully. I could tell she expected bitterness. Maybe screaming, maybe insecurity. Instead, she got composure. That unsettled her. "You know," she said softly, "he talks about you a lot." That surprised me. "Does he?" "He says you changed after he became successful." I laughed quietly. "No, I stayed the same. That's the problem." For a second, her confidence cracked, just slightly. "Women know when another woman is telling the truth. Marcus built everything himself." She said, "There it is." "What?" "The story he sells women." Her face hardened. "You sound," replied gently. "You sound recruited." That ended lunch fast, but before she left, Kiara paused beside the table. "You think you won't be replaced too?" I asked. Her expression froze. I continued calmly. "Men who trade loyalty for upgrades never stop shopping." She walked away angry, but I knew that sentence followed her home. The trial date approached. Media attention increased. Financial blogs started speculating about Marcus's hidden assets. Investors began asking questions. Suddenly, his company's stock projections looked shaky. Nothing catastrophic. Just unstable enough to scare wealthy people. That's all it takes sometimes, fear. One board member reportedly demanded internal audits. Marcus was furious. I heard through Denise that he blamed me for everything. Of course he did. Men who betray you often get angry when consequences arrive. Then came the biggest twist. One night, Denise called sounding almost impressed. "He hired Raymond Vale." I sat up. "The billionaire?"
You know him.
Everybody in Atlanta knew Raymond Vale. Black billionaire, private equity legend, luxury real estate mogul, media companies, tech investments. The man practically owned half the skyline. Marcus worshipped him, not publicly, but privately. Marcus spent years trying to enter Raymond's circles. "What does Raymond have to do with this?" I asked. "He's considering acquiring one of Marcus's subsidiaries." That made sense. Marcus needed stability, public support, validation. A deal with Raymond Vale could save investor confidence. "What's the problem?" Denise paused. The acquisition review uncovered inconsistencies. I closed my eyes slowly. Oh, exactly. See, wealthy business deals involve due diligence, deep due diligence. And Marcus's hidden structures suddenly became dangerous. Not illegal, just deceptive enough to create risk. And billionaires hate risk. 3 days later, Marcus called again. Different energy this time, less arrogance. More desperation. "We need to settle now." I stayed quiet. "I'll increase the offer." "To what?" "See, 75 million. I almost dropped the phone. That's how scared he was. "You must be in trouble," I said. "Don't do this." His voice cracked slightly. "First time ever." "Do what?" "You know investors are watching. Maybe they should watch sooner. You're being vindictive." "No, I'm being visible," he exhaled sharply. actually want from me? The old Naomi would say apology, love, regret. But heartbreak matures you. I want you to stop acting like I was disposable. Silence. Then finally, you're still emotional. That made me smile because Marcus still didn't understand. Emotion wasn't driving me anymore, clarity was. The week before court, I attended a fundraising gala with Denise. I almost didn't go, but she insisted. You spent too long hiding, she said. The event took place at a luxury hotel downtown. Black tie, investors, executives, athletes, celebrities. All the people Marcus spent years trying to impress. I wore a fitted black gown, simple, elegant. No revenge dress theatrics, I didn't need attention. Confidence handles that naturally. The room shifted when I entered, not dramatically but enough. Whispers, looks, recognition. I heard my name twice before reaching the bar. Then I saw him, Marcus, standing near investors, Kiara on his arm. His smile disappeared the second he noticed me. Interesting, because for months Marcus acted publicly unbothered. But now he looked nervous. That's when somebody approached me. Tall, silver tie, confident without trying. Naomi Brooks? I turned and nearly froze. Raymond Vale in person, the billionaire himself. I recovered quickly. Yes. He smiled politely. I've wanted to meet you. That sentence caught me completely off guard. Why? Raymond glanced briefly toward Marcus. Because people who build empires quietly interest me. My heart skipped once, not romantically. Strategically, because Marcus was watching every second. Raymond offered me champagne. We talked for almost 30 minutes, business, operations, leadership. Nothing flirtatious, just intelligent conversation. And the more we spoke, the more I realized something shocking. Raymond already knew about my role in Marcus's company in detail. Operational infrastructure is underrated, he said. Vision gets attention. Systems create wealth. I looked at him carefully. You sound familiar with my marriage. I'm familiar with business. That answer told me everything. Raymond knew Marcus exaggerated his independence. Maybe investors did too. Maybe everybody successful understands one truth. Nobody builds anything big alone. Marcus eventually approached us. Forced smile, tight jaw. Raymond? Marcus, the tension was immediate. Kiara looked uncomfortable. Good. Marcus glanced toward me. I didn't realize you two met. Raymond answered before I could. Naomi's impressive. Simple sentence, massive damage. Because Marcus spent months minimizing me publicly, and now the billionaire he idolized validated my value in front of him. Marcus forced another smile. Yes. Naomi was supportive during early years, supportive. I almost laughed. Raymond looked at him calmly. Operational leadership is more than support. Silence. Beautiful silence. Marcus changed the subject quickly, but the damage was done. I saw insecurity flash across his face. Real insecurity, not anger, fear. Because powerful men hate seeing other powerful men respect women they dismissed. Later that night, Raymond walked me to valet. No matter what happens in court, he said, don't underestimate your contribution. I nodded politely. Then he added something unexpected. Men like Marcus confuse visibility with value. I stared at him because that sentence explained my entire marriage. Marcus was visible. I was valuable. And deep down, he always knew it. The morning of court felt strangely peaceful. No anxiety, no panic, just stillness. The kind that shows up when you finally stop begging life to be fair. Atlanta rain tapped against my condo windows while I stood in front of the mirror adjusting pearl earrings, simple black dress, neutral makeup, hair pulled back clean. I looked like myself again. Not Marcus's wife. Not the abandoned woman bloggers mocked, just Naomi. And honestly, I missed her. My phone buzzed. Denise, you ready? Already am. You sound calm. I am calm, she laughed softly. That's either maturity or dangerous, maybe both. I grabbed my purse and headed downstairs. That's when everything changed. The doorman nearly dropped his coffee. Outside my building sat a black Lamborghini Aventador, not parked casually. Positioned, intentional. Rain slid across the hood like liquid glass. The engine purred low, expensive, aggressive, unforgettable. I stopped walking. What is this? Then the driver stepped out, tailored coat, umbrella in one hand. Professional. Miss Brooks? Mr. Vale's Ascent Transportation. I blinked. Raymond Vale? Yes, Mom. For a second I genuinely considered refusing, because I understood exactly how this would look. But then I remembered every headline, every insult, every moment Marcus treated me like something he upgraded from. I straightened my shoulders. All right. The driver opened the passenger door, and when I sat inside that Lamborghini, I'm not going to lie, it felt good. Not because of the money, not because of the luxury, because for the first time in years, somebody powerful acknowledged my worth without needing to own me. That mattered. The courthouse was packed. Media outside, cameras, reporters, business bloggers. Everybody wanted a glimpse of Marcus Brooks, the self-made millionaire facing a messy divorce. The Lamborghini rolled slowly toward the entrance, and the second reporters recognized me. Chaos. Flashes exploded everywhere. Questions started flying. Naomi, who sent the car? Are you dating Raymond Vale? Did Marcus lose the settlement? The driver ignored everybody. He opened my door carefully, and I stepped out composed, calm, elegant, unbothered. That's when I saw Marcus standing near courthouse steps. His expression priceless, absolute shock. Chiara stood beside him, frozen stiff. Marcus stared at the Lamborghini, then at me, then back at the car. I could practically hear his ego cracking. Because wealthy men understand symbols. And this symbol screamed loudly, not ownership, value, respect, access. Marcus rushed toward me before his attorneys could stop him. What was this? He hissed. I adjusted purse calmly. Transportation, don't play games with me. You usually like games when you're winning. His face darkened. Are you seeing Raymond? I smiled slightly. You sound emotional. That hit him hard because I used his own words against him. Chiara walked over trying to maintain composure. Marcus, cameras are watching, wrong thing to say. He snapped instantly, then stopped talking. Oof. I watched her face fall and suddenly I saw the future. One day she'd become me, discarded, blamed, replaced. The cycle always repeats when people ignore character. Inside court, tension sat heavy. Marcus' legal team looked exhausted. Denise looked energized. I love that about her. She treated legal warfare like jazz, smooth, calculated, creative. The proceedings lasted hours. Financial disclosures, asset evaluations, corporate structures, partnership interests. Marcus's attorneys fought aggressively. But the confidence from earlier months was gone because discovery changed everything. At one point, the judge reviewed documents connected to Marcus's hidden entities. The courtroom got real quiet. One attorney actually removed his glasses dramatically. That's when you know rich people nervous. Marcus kept glancing toward me, trying to read me, trying to provoke emotion. But I stayed composed, not cold, just done, there's a difference. During recess, Marcus cornered me again near a private hallway. You embarrassed me outside. I looked at him carefully. No, your actions embarrassed you. You know exactly what that car looked like. It looked expensive. His jaw tightened. You're enjoying this. I paused, then answered honestly. I'm enjoying watching you realize I was never beneath you. That sentence silenced him because Marcus built his confidence around hierarchy, provider, leader, powerful man, disposable wife. But now he was being forced to confront a reality he hated. I had value outside him, always did. The afternoon session became brutal. Denise presented operational evidence proving my involvement in Marcus's company growth, investor correspondence, internal restructuring plans, financial recovery strategies I helped design, even archived emails where Marcus credited me privately for stabilizing major deals. The courtroom energy shifted completely. One older judge actually leaned forward during testimony. You were significantly involved in business operations? Yes, Your Honor. Marcus's attorney objected repeatedly. Didn't matter. The truth was already sitting in the room, visible, heavy, impossible to ignore. Then came the final blow. Denise introduced evidence connected to hidden investment structures Marcus failed to disclose properly during earlier negotiations, not criminal, but deceptive enough to damage credibility. Marcus exploded. Actually exploded. This is ridiculous. Everybody froze. The judge stared over his glasses. Mr. Brooks, control yourself. Marcus stood breathing hard. And for the first time since our marriage started falling apart, people saw him the way I had. Not polished, not brilliant. Just a man terrified of losing control. Court adjourned late afternoon. No final ruling yet. But the momentum shifted heavily. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited like wolves. Marcus stormed out first. Questions hit him instantly. Mr. Brooks, are allegations about hidden assets accurate? No comment. Did Raymond Vale withdraw interest in your company? No comment. Is your ex-wife entitled to ownership stakes? No comment. He snapped hard enough to make headlines immediately. Then I walked outside, calm again. Reporters surrounded me. Naomi, are you involved with Raymond Vale? I smiled politely. No. Did today feel like revenge? That question lingered. I looked directly toward cameras, then answered carefully. No, revenge is emotional. Accountability is necessary. That quote spread everywhere. By evening, it was all over social media. Business podcasts discussed it. Women reposted it. Divorce attorneys quoted it. Even celebrities started debating the case online. Marcus hated public embarrassment, and suddenly embarrassments became unavoidable. 2 weeks later, settlement negotiations resumed privately, very privately. No arrogance this time. No insults. No fake superiority. Just numbers. Serious numbers. The final settlement included equity stakes, properties, cash assets, and long-term financial participation connected to multiple ventures. Enough money to change generations. Enough respect to restore my dignity. Denise looked satisfied when everything finalized. You know what really won this case? She asked. What? You stopped needing his approval. That stayed with me. Because it was true. Marcus expected heartbreak to make me desperate. Instead, it made me clear. A month after the divorce finalized, I received an invitation. Private dinner hosted by Raymond Vale. I almost declined, then curiosity won again. The dinner took place at a rooftop restaurant overlooking Atlanta. Quiet, elegant, no media, no performance. Raymond arrived exactly on time. I appreciated that. Rich men usually make people wait intentionally. Power games. But Raymond didn't seem interested in proving status. That alone separated him from Marcus. "You look peaceful," he said after we sat. "I feel expensive." He laughed hard, real laugh. Not arrogant, not rehearsed, just genuine. "I heard Marcus lost 2 board members," he said. "That's unfortunate." "No, it isn't." I smiled into my wine glass. "Fair point. We talked for hours, not romance, not flirting. Just conversation between 2 adults who understood business and survival." At one point, Raymond asked something unexpected. "Why didn't you destroy him publicly?" I thought carefully before answering. "Because I survived him. I didn't want to become him." Raym nodded slowly. "That's rare, maybe. But peace matters more than spectacle." Over the next year, my life changed completely. Not because of money, because of freedom. I invested, started consulting, helped women entrepreneurs or businesses, operational systems, financial structure, leadership planning. Turns out I was really good at building things. Funny how clarity appears once somebody stops shrinking you. Marcus, meanwhile, became quieter publicly. His company survived. Rich men usually do, but the image cracked. Investors became cautious. Media narrative shifted. And privately, I heard Kiara eventually left him. No surprise there. One afternoon, nearly 2 years later, I saw Mark unexpectedly at a charity event. Smaller crowd, more intimate. He looked older, not physically, spiritually. We spoke briefly near the valet stand. "You look well," he said. "So do you." That was a lie. He studied me quietly, then finally asked, "Did you ever love me?" I almost laughed at the timing. After everything, after betrayal, after court, after public humiliation, that was his question. "Yes," I answered honestly. "Then why fight me like that?" I looked directly at him. "Because you confused kindness for weakness." He went silent, and in that moment I realized something important. Marcus still thought the divorce was about money, but it never was. It was about acknowledgement, about being seen, about refusing to disappear quietly after helping somebody build an empire. As my car pulled away that night, I looked out the window at Atlanta lights glowing against the dark sky, and I smiled. Not because I won, because I survived without losing myself. That's rarer than wealth. A lot of people think betrayal is the worst thing that can happen in a relationship. It's not. The worst thing is slowly losing yourself while trying to keep somebody else comfortable. That's what happened to me. I spent years making Marcus look powerful while shrinking parts of myself to protect his ego. And the dangerous thing about that kind of sacrifice is that it becomes normal. You stop asking for recognition. You stop demanding fairness. You convince yourself loyalty means silence. It doesn't. Loyalty should never require self-erasure. One of the biggest lessons from my story is this. Never let anybody rewrite your contribution just because they became more visible than you. A lot of women help build businesses, families, careers, and entire lifestyles behind the scenes. Then one day, the person standing in the spotlight acts like they did everything alone. Don't accept that lie. Another lesson, calmness is power. People expect betrayed women to scream, crash out, expose everything online, or lose emotional control publicly. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stay composed while gathering facts. Marcus thought my silence meant weakness. Really, I was observing him carefully. And finally, money doesn't change character. It reveals priorities. Marcus already had arrogance inside him before success arrived. Wealth simply gave him permission to stop hiding it. That's why you should pay attention to how people treat others when they gain status, influence, or financial freedom. Anybody can pretend to be humble while struggling. Character becomes clearer after comfort. At the end of the day, the Lamborghini wasn't the victory. The settlement wasn't the victory. The headlines weren't the victory. The real victory was realizing I still had value outside the marriage. I was intelligent before Marcus, capable before Marcus, worthy before Marcus, and so are you. Never allow somebody else's success to convince you that your sacrifices meant nothing. The people holding foundations together rarely get applause. But without foundations, everything eventually collapses.